during the election campaign, there was lamentations about the previous government and taxation.
Yes.
And the guy who was running to be president had things to say about the taxes.
Okay.
And speaking to Wanjiku.
This was before he got elected.
Before he got elected.
During campaigns. Let's hear what he had to say.
Usiku na mchana. Mimi nataka niwaeleze ya kwamba these people don't understand the damage they are doing to the people and the economy of Kenya. Kwa hii taxes wanaongeza usiku na mchana. Na mimi nataka niwaulize watu wa hapa Manga. Tafadhali, mkiona tumesimama hapa mbele yenu, tunawaambia ya kwamba tutengeneze hiyo serikali inakuja ambayo inaelewa lugha ya mwananchi wa kawaida.
This week on the headlines, it's been financial bill. So it's a document that's over 130 pages.
Yes.
And there's
35.
There's some organizations, that have done a very good job in trying to summarize. KPMG. There's another one called Bowman's that that I'm going to be quoting, from some of what they're saying. And they've tried to make people understand. Now, basically tonight, what we want to do, outside the emotions of everything, want to figure out if some of these new tax laws will affect the diaspora. We also want to figure out, like if the U.S. has maybe similar laws, and maybe different states, if different states have similar laws. So the people who are tuned in here, let us know if you have such taxes in your states, because the U.S. is a very interesting taxing jurisdiction. There's a federal government, and then the 50 states are also independent taxing jurisdictions that tax different things. And then we also have other countries in Africa. Is there like precedent, are there other maybe African countries that are imposing these taxes, so that we can figure out if these are unfair taxes or if these are taxes that are being used in other places.
Can I play a clip?
Yes.
Before you start that, because this is a beautiful segue to discuss.
Yes. And before you play that clip, we also want to know the value of public participation.
Yeah.
What exactly is it, and is there any value in public participation?
So this particular one is just a genesis before we get into public participation, because I know we are going to talk about that at some point. But for this one, this is the genesis. And to provide context, during the election campaign, there was lamentations about the previous government and taxation.
Yes.
And the guy who was running to be president had things to say about the taxes.
Okay.
And speaking to Wanjiku.
This was before he got elected. During campaigns. Let's hear what he had to say.
Usiku na mchana. Mimi nataka niwaeleze ya kwamba these people don't understand the damage they are doing to the people and the economy of Kenya. Kwa hii taxes wanaongeza usiku na mchana. Na mimi nataka niwaulize watu wa hapa Manga. Tafadhali, mkiona tumesimama hapa mbele yenu, tunawaambia ya kwamba tutengeneze hiyo serikali inakuja ambayo inaelewa lugha ya mwananchi wa kawaida.
Okay, that's Kenyan President William Ruto.
Yes.
That was before the election.
That was before the election.
That was his position.
Yes, and his position was he was precise.
Okay.
The taxes zinaangamisha mwananchi.
Yeah.
Haya.
But now it becomes a kayo. We have Washeke Ndirangu here who says that public participation is a scam. How can you give Kenyans just one day to give their views? We are going to talk about that shortly. So want you to
In what context is she talking about?
No, public participation.
In terms of the finance bill.
In terms of the finance bill. Kenyans were given a very short period
3
of time.
days.
So the finance bill, the bill is published, and then people are told to give their views within a very short period of time.
And I think something
isn't there the one that you're supposed to send the email by the 28th?
I think that's the one that she's talking about. By the 28th, of this month. Well, we're gonna talk about that.
Public participation means there's email, but like, okay, carry on.
I think there's two of them, but anyway, go ahead.
No. I mean, you know, like I know the one where people were making, you know, like practical submissions. But let's say, but let's even assume,
like they call them, I think they're suggestions or something like that.
Yeah,
which,
but let's
I don't
assume,
think is public participation, but they're suggestions.
But let's assume
like
it's even 2 weeks. Let's assume it's not 3 days. Let's assume it's even 2 weeks. That's still a very short period of time to debate such weighty matters when you drop a 137-page document and expect people to go through the document.
And there's a lot of technical lingo in there.
Yes.
Of course.
When you look at it,
but
those
documents are written like that on purpose.
Of course.
For people not to understand.
They also publish them or push them out at they play with the time, right? Basically, you're not going to get, so they have a threshold that they're supposed to push out those documents between time X and time Z. They will wait until the last minute to push it out, which means you have less of a time to go through that thing analytically, and hopefully if somebody has hidden enough stuff in there, you will not catch it until it has become law. And that's the whole point of what these guys who help put those documents are, the aides, blah, 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 whatever, so that even a lawmaker who's sitting over there and going through it would need to have a staff of 3 to go through that particular thing line by line to find out what's actually in there. So these guys, that's why these are games that they play on purpose, so that, you know, the ordinary mwananchi, if you take that document, for one, it's a big document, you know, 130 something pages or 140 pages, a lot to go through, you know. And then when you start going through it, you start seeing lingos of thereof, thereat, wherefore, unbeknownst, you're like, what is the ham sandwich?
What is this guy talking about?
As yes, mech. It's not regular English that Joe Blow would understand. You may need a translator just to get you past point. Because even the way something is written, where they say, okay, so section 4.5, we are taking out this and replacing this in subsection 4, whatever.
That.
So you're like, okay, so what does the one that you're replacing actually even mean?
Say,
right?
No, what does it say in the first place?
Let alone you don't even know what the one that was being removed is saying.
Yes.
So you see, and this is where I think the role of the member of parliament and local representatives got diminished. Because typically, you know, like even when we go talk to wazes, even when you go talk to your wazes, I don't know about other parts, but like in Coast, members of parliament used to come and actually call barazas and sit with people and tell them this is what's happening.
They used to do that.
Yeah,
they used to do that sitting under a tree or your local Boys and Girls Club or whatever you want to call it. Mostly it was under a tree with those plastic chairs or whatever, or maybe he's sitting nyinyi mmekachini and they have an actual meeting. The same way the chiefs used to call it.
And that's how people were connected with what was happening. That's no longer happening. You know, like it's a document is dispatched and not everybody has access to the internet. Not everybody has the ability to download a 137-page document and just sit there around reading it. But the media has tried to do a good job in trying to break it down.
Yes,
but that's not enough.
But it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of work and content for you as a consumer to just come in, take a look at it, or should I say, as somebody who's a voter and would be affected, right? Mm-hmm. For you to go through, either sit through, say, Spice FM or one of those morning shows or something like that, to hear what's going on over here. Yet you are being already taxed at 1.5 on the housing.
People are busy.
So for them, they're like, okay, wait a minute. So you guys are trying to bring the housing levy in via this Finance Act, but you're already taxing me. Mm-hmm. So how is that making sense? You're saying this thing is not true yet, or it's not in being enacted yet, but the money is coming out of my check. Mm-hmm. So why would I can't do anything about it, because you guys are going to do whatever it is that you want to do. And you're telling me that my vehicle is going to be taxed at a minimum of 5,000 shillings per year, and then up to 100,000 depending upon.
So we're gonna come to all those details. A comment here coming from Mwakisha Mgendi Brai. Karibu sana. Mwakisha says there is nothing like public participation in Kenya. It's political. true, they wait until last meeting to make a decision. I think he meant last minute. But Mwakisha, karibu sana, the OneMicShow. Give us your views on what you think about that finance bill. If you've gone through it, please tell us what you think. Now, one of the things that came up that may have an effect on the diaspora, and I want us to have a discussion to see what kind of effect it has, is the increase in money service fees. That's M-Pesa, banks. So the wording, like that I got from the summary that came from Bowman's, one of the organizations that was summarizing this document, it says there will be an increase in excise duty rate on money transfer services. So the bill proposes to increase excise duty from 15% to 20% on fees charged for money transfer services offered by banks, money transfer agencies, and other financial institutions, and cellular phone service providers or payment service providers licensed under the National Payment Systems Act of 2011. And the possible effective date, the proposed effective date for this is the 1st of July 2024.
This in
2
months.
Yes. And some of the implications that were mentioned by Bowman it will be the increase in the excise rate is likely to result in increased in costs for money transfer services. So
with from what I'm hearing, you're just basically saying sisi hapa diaspora, not talking about in Kenya. Sisi hapa diaspora, our Sendwaves, our whatever app that we are using, Lemify, Sijui, whatever, I can name all of them. Any one of the mobile apps that we are using to send money, they would be charged more because they're the ones who are registered.
Yes.
Which means they would then now transfer the cost over to us. So what we are supposedly getting in the exchange rate, which is a reduced,
would reduce.
It would increase. So they charge us based upon a certain exchange rate, right?
Yes.
So what they would then now do is either add this fee in, or that exchange rate would be lowered.
It will be lowered.
Yes,
that's what I'm saying.
It
will be lowered,
right?
It will be lowered.
Which means,
which means you need to send more money. Mtu akikwambia nitumie 100k, you're now sending more dollars to meet that 100k.
Correct, because you have to, now you're paying the excess tax, which is at 22%?
20% from 20 to 20%.
It was 15%, now it's
but
being
this is local. We don't know how
to 20%.
we're going to be affected. I mean, we don't know if, it's going to be from
but
15
remember,
to 20%.
whoever we use has to
pay that.
Yes.
They have to use, either they themselves directly are registered, or they use somebody who is registered to do the last leg of passing the money over. And if those fees are going up, then that person is not going to agree to do this job for them without them eating the cost.
Because in addition to that, that is one. So if you send somebody M-Pesa,
correct,
I send you a Moshe M-Pesa, then you from M-Pesa you weka into your bank. Unachapwa tax.
No, now you've gone far.
No.
Even money,
No. Yes.
Even money. Yes, there's an excise.
There's an excise tax. If you are to move, let's say, so I send you chums.
Correct.
To your M-Pesa.
Kenya. Yes.
Then from your M-Pesa,
yes,
unaeka Co-op Bank, KCB, whatever.
Understood.
There's
an excise tax.
So you're saying I'm paying both an excise tax as well as paying the fee for SAFCOM to do the transfer, or my bank?
So whatever SAFCOM, whatever charges SAFCOM charges,
yes,
they will charge you. But
correct,
anytime money moves from M-Pesa to M-Pesa, or from M-Pesa to bank,
yes,
there's an excise fee.
So is that fee paid to the Gava, or is paid, or we paid via the provider?
This fee was waived during COVID.
It was during,
and that's the one that's come back.
Yes,
okay,
and that's why people were not familiar with it. But if you go look at your bank statement, or if you go look at your M-Pesa statement, there's someone who's paying. Now, I'm not clear who pays at what point, but I always see on my bank accounts, there's always an excise fee, and I've always tried to ask, the people in the bank, because I don't like fees.
So what's an excise fee for those of us, of us who don't understand what excise fee is?
You exercise and then they charge your fee.
No, an excise
Jaga
fee.
the kubaf.
I don't know what they call it here in the US, but it's a form of tax.
Okay.
It's a form of tax. We're gonna get the definition, or Mosh find the precise definition for us. But
I'm trying to even look at my M-Pesa statement.
Yes.
To see if I can.
No, don't worry. Your M-Pesa is okay. That you're gonna check later.
No, I wanna see if we can even see the fee on it. So
okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yes.
It was a percentage because I remember my sister-in-law at one time was complaining. She's like, sasa, yani nachajiwa kutransfer pesa kutoka M-Pesa kwa bank. Sita fadhali niende nichukue, because like now to withdraw chums,
yeah,
unalipishwa.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Withdraw. Unalipishwa, there's a whatever the fee is. So she was saying, after fadhali I go withdraw, then I walk to the bank and deposit directly.
So like I had always complained about M-Pesa fees. Whenever I go to Kenya, I always have a stash of cash, because I did my calculation on those M-Pesa fees, and with M-Pesa, the more the money moves, let's say like I have, what's the max you can send on M-Pesa? Is it
140? It's 140K. It's 140,000. That's the max you can have. I think at one point
in your wallet, no.
In your wallet,
it's gone up.
I think it's gone up. I think it's gone up.
3 something.
So let's call it 300. So
because at one point the most you could send was 70K.
Yes. So
right?
let's say but I think let's say if the max you can send is 140.
Yes.
If I send to you 140, there's a fee that gets charged for me to send you the 140.
Right.
Now, kwa hiyo 140, let's say uko na madeni za watu watatu, maybe 20. You send each one of them 20.
There's a fee for that.
There's a fee for
that.
For
each.
So from that original 140, there's still more fees that are coming in.
And
mse wa 20 akianza kutumia na 5K hapa, 3K hapa, there's fees. So by the end of it, Safaricom from that first 140K has made tons of money. The more the money moves, the more, like Safco makes money, and the more excise taxes also the government.
And like you're talking about, like now from here you're looking, you're sending some money, 12 shillings, you're sending depending on the amount of money, 15 shillings or 27 shillings or whatever, you're like, you're gonna pay it. But that is how these guys make money.
Yes, and that's why I tell people, like when you do a calculation of how much fees you've been paying annually, I'm telling you, you will get a heart attack. And that's the reason why when I go to Kenya, I'm very shameless. I am that guy who will unleash cash. I mean, I try not to walk around with a lot of cash on me, for safety reasons. But then, like in places where I can pay cash, me nalipa cash, because there's a convenience, of course. There's some places where you'll be forced to use Paybill or M-Pesa. That's fine. Like kama
it's not fine because
mambo ya kulipa fees, for example.
Yeah.
I think that's a big amount.
That's
understandable. Yeah. But yeah. So transaction fees, that's a big deal. Do we have any kinds of transaction fees out here in the US? Because sometimes we talk about Kenya too much. Whenever we transact, is there any transaction fees?
I think if you go to a teller, I think there's a transaction.
When was the last time you were charged a transaction
there's a
fee?
The only transaction fees that are there are for your bank account, and if you have a checkbook,
weird about the transaction fees.
So they give you incentives, like now,
so
for example, electronic
using an
mail,
ATM has transaction fee if you're not
a member of that.
If you use an ATM for another bank,
yes, that has a transaction fee.
But there are certain banks, if you're in a credit union or whatever, they tell you there are certain banks you can withdraw.
Yeah.
For free. So
but me, I'm trying to understand these fees.
Sending electronic transfers, right? Those have a fee, right?
What do you mean by an electronic transfer, like Zelle or Cash App?
If you're sending, say, bank to bank, or if you're sending,
if you write a check to someone.
If I want to send money from here to, say, Kenya,
or a wire,
or
a wire transfer,
yes, a wire transfer has fees, but I'm talking about day-to-day transaction. A wire is not an everyday transaction.
There's some fees. I know that there was something different between using the ATM and going into the bank, and I don't know if they got rid of those. There was a time when they used to charge.
They used to have these special accounts where you only would have ATM access.
Correct. And if you had more then they would charge you a fee, right?
Yeah, but those ones are no more. I was in banking, and I'll tell you something. There's very few fees that are for day-to-day transactions.
Yeah.
that American banks charge.
So you may reduce, because at the time they used to lima us.
Overdraft
back in the
fees,
day, overdraft
fees.
Not even that,
yeah.
Overdraft fees is still there, but that's I would not say that's a transaction fee. Right?
That's what I'm talking about day-to-day transaction.
Meaning when you're having a transaction, you're actually getting charged, right? Like if you're doing a withdrawal.
Yeah.
For instance,
so
would you be charged to do a withdrawal?
No, there's no fee for that.
But what happens? No.
Yeah. So those are the fees now that people in Kenya are paying. So like for those who go back to Kenya, when you go open a bank account, you get surprised that there's a fee on this and there's a fee on that. And then when you look at your statement, you're seeing an excise tax. A couple of comments here coming in. Let me see. Oh wow, we're already getting answers on some of the questions that we were asking. So
I think start with Washeke says
let me start with
scam.
Yeah. Mwakisha says
Mgendi.
Mwakisha Mgendi says exchange rate itakuwa juu diaspora. Omosh amesema true. Nanti Modhiambo says it was about time this was coming, but a toothless divided diaspora wouldn't do anything about it. I agree with you, Tim. And then Stephen JJ says excise taxes are usually paid by businesses, increasing prices to consumers directly.
Indirectly.
Indirectly. And then let me see. Trish says excise is a tax that relates to a quantity, not a value, as opposed to the value-added tax, which concerns the value of goods or service.
Hapo bado nimefloat but ni sawa.
Yes, so Washeke anasema wire fee, and then Babahanya, you're supposed to be in the studio, but we'll have that discussion.
Yeah. You guys are gonna chase him. You won't even start.
No.
Yes, we won't give him a break.
No. In his defense,
what?
Kuna first lady. First lady is the one that needs to be dealt with.
Okay.
That one we'll deal with behind
the
But
tent.
boss, isn't that your in-law? You're the one who should be huko. You are trying to make her an outlaw the way you're talking.
No, she can never be an outlaw.
Okay.
But then you might want to slow down your own.
Now,
Ongea outside camera.
And then Washeke says there are very few bank transaction fees in the US. Babahanya was saying Safaricom makes most of the money on phone loans, which
you've talked about.
I have talked about.
Fuliza.
That is the worst.
The one thing. Now, the one thing that I can't do, like knowing the condition, some of the condition that people are living in Kenya, it's very difficult for me to tell someone who's being evicted.
Yeah. Don't Fuliza. Yeah.
100.
And imagine Fuliza yake ni hiyo ndo inatakikana.
But this loans
3.5
annualized, they're like between, I want to say 120 and 150%. It is a very exorbitant. It's worse than what payday loans.
I don't think the problem is getting them. The problem is the fees. The problem is how you. It's like It's like getting money, getting a loan from a loan shark.
Yes,
because getting a loan is not the problem. You can get a loan and then finance pole, but this one's it's so compound.
This is more compounded than a loan shark.
True.
Safaricom. It's more compounded than a loan shark, because a loan shark sometimes atakwambia okay, chukua. I mean, loan sharks also have variations, but when you think about payday loans in the US, the ones that got banned by Obama's administration, they used to be ukoma 37-40% annualized. But sasa where they get you on this Safaricom ones, ni wanakuambia, they give you a number like 10%, but that 10% is due within 30 days. So that's not an annualized number.
No. That one is my...
So that means if you take 10K, by the end of the 30 days, you owe 11K. You have to pay 11K. So if you don't pay that 11K, let's say like you're in a bad situation, so it's another 10% for the next 30 days. So now 11K, you add 10% of 11K. It adds up to 11. Around 12,100. If you keep it for a year, that will come to around 24,000. So you're talking about you took 10K and now you owe 24,000. That's about 140% annual percentage rate.
I don't think people are keeping it for that long, but you're right.
But still,
most people who have Fuliza go maybe a month. But you see, they almost use it as a rotating, what is it? What would I call it? A rotating line of credit, because they know that, and the way that Fuliza is worked, it's such that at a certain point, if you don't pay it, even your phone won't work. Yani, there's a way these nyangaos,
they'll get you.
They hold you,
Yeah.
to the point where somebody will be like, hey, you know what? I have Fuliza, and my Fuliza is like, let's say, 25 handle. But they've already figured your 25 handle. And maybe within a week, they'll pay it back, right? But whatever money is, and also the way it's set up is that whatever money comes into your M-Pesa, it gets, removed until the whole entire amount of Fuliza is sorted out. So basically, at some point, you can't use your M-Pesa until you have basically sorted this out. Now, in some cases, folks, wale majanjes, they're like, okay, I have Fuliza here of 25 hando, don't send to me here because I have Fuliza, send to this other phone. So you use somebody else's phone and you get from there, blah, blah, blah. But eventually, you're going to have to deal with this mambo ya isimu yako. And God forbid you did not get those phones. You know, they have phones you can get on credit. So you actually pay, every month you pay on this phone. So the phone might cost 23,000, but every month you're paying maybe 5 SOC or 6 SOC or whatever it is, up till the point when you get to that 23K. Now, if you don't pay that 5 hando, then that phone of yours gets turned off. So you have the phone physically, but huwezi tumia, because the network is not accepting it until ulipe your payment.
Bro.
I'm telling you, there are folks who, and Safcom has this thing down. They also have the one of the TV, where you get the TV with solar, and it comes with a solar charger. There's a TV that goes with it, and you pay on a monthly basis, and it also comes with programming. So if you don't pay, then guess what? None of these things are working. Zinafinywa zote. And then, on top of that, the charge does not, even the solar thing that allow that now we won't even charge.
Now these are things that people need to.
I'm telling you, if you follow up on the things that and stuff, they have a plethora.
No, I remember I remember a time when people in Kenya would kind of like look down upon or laugh at people in the diaspora that nyinyi watu wa credit too.
Correct.
But now Kenya has become, with this Fuliza, it has become a full credit society.
Yes.
They used to be credit, like ile kwenda kwa kiosk kuomba, but now
but
all
hiyo
kinds
ya
of
kiosk
people
ilikuwa unamaliza at the end of the month.
Unamaliza at the end of the
alafu
month.
zile deni when unalipwa sasa ile kitabu nakuja na anatoa kitabu ya fresh for the next month.
Yeah, wacha nisome a few comments here that have been coming in. Mwakisha says factors that influence currency exchange rates include inflation, interest rates, government debt, public political stability, economic recession, terms of trade, current account deficit, confidence and speculation that affects everything. Where hapo economics lesson tunapatiwa. And then Washeke says Kenyans don't realize that interest rate is so high, they just here borrow 1,000 and pay back 1,200. And then Washeke says they don't understand APR. Stephen JJ anasema you receive M-Pesa wanakunyonga. Stephen JJ, it seems like you have experience. Tell us more about it. And then Lawrence was saying
that story can come with Malaku's mouth. I don't think you want that story.
Wacha tupewe.
And then Babahanya Lawrence Kenya says, isn't Fuliza 1% interest daily in balance? That's something
I think that Fuliza, yes, I think he's right.
So that's something that we're gonna have a conversation
and that daily
about.
balance, it's daily. It's computed daily.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Now,
which means it's a lot at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
Because when you calculate, when you do your calculations, if it's 1% daily,
yes,
bro.
And this is part of
bro,
the
think
reason.
about it.
Yes. And this is
that
part
is
of the reason.
So
when you see this, when you talk about a lived experience, this is why sisi Waislamu tumekatazwa riba. Because with interest, and I keep telling people, any kind of interest, there's always someone on another side being screwed. You may be the beneficiary of interest, but there's always someone on the other side that's being screwed. That's the reason why, sasa kama, even now, what now Muslim kids are being taught in madrasa now in Kenya, vitu kama hizi hapa. Yes. Yeah, so vitu kama hizi hapa, you wanna avoid them. You wanna avoid, so with us, you wanna avoid charging it, and you also wanna avoid taking it. Because when it comes to the time for taking, it's good, but at some point, and we know that too well even here in the US, with credit cards na nini, these things can screw you up big time at some point.